So, before we begin, I have a Patreon now. So, yep, that's there in the description if you want it. But how nice is your favourite wrestler? That's the question I'm asking in today's video, because we're going to put a number of different wrestlers in an interesting situation. We're going to play the role of a superfan that dedicates their entire life to creating custom action figures of their favourite wrestlers, with one slight twist. The action figures are absolute fucking shit. Absolute shit. Not a single distinctive feature or characteristic to be found on any single one. They are literally blank human figures made of clay and plasticine that I've found on Google Images. We're then going to tweet these wrestlers and say, hey, I'm a huge fan of yours, here's a custom action figure of you that I spent several months making, and it's just dog shit. How will they react? Will they say thank you? Will they pretend it's good? Will they share it with all their followers, knowing that some of their followers won't be as nice about it? Will they just turn around and say, Timmy, this is shit? So that's what we're going to try and find out. And because there's a global pandemic, I have crippling anxiety and I've no clay. I can't do this in person, so instead we're going to do it on Twitter. This is the Twitter account that we'll be using, NAIC Wrestling Figures, which when you say it backwards actually makes no sense at all. So it really wasn't as clever as I thought it was. Anyway, we have our profile pic, we have our header, we have our bio, our pinned tweet. It's all looking good. So I'd say it's time to start with phase 1.
What's that coming over the hill? Is it
crippling depression?
So I'm going to assume we won't get a response off Roman Reigns or one of them, so instead we're going to pick or choose carefully, right? We're going to choose who's most likely to see these action figures and who's most likely to respond. So I've gone with Brendan Vink, Bronson Reed, Everrise, Finn Balor, bit of an optimistic one there, but anyway, Indy Hartwell, Kona Reeves, Nikki Cross and Tyler Rust. I feel like these are some of WWE's main roster people that might actually respond. But as an insurance policy, I've also included some NXT UK wrestlers, so that way we'll at least get some people who are guaranteed to see it. Flash Morgan Webster, Mark Andrews, Kenny Williams, Noam Dar, Nathan Fraser and Jack Stars. So with that out of the way, it's now time to see how these wrestlers have reacted to receiving their very own custom-made action figure. They all ignored me. What the fuck? I've gone through every single one of these, and okay, Finn Balor didn't give it a like or a reply, but he's a busy man at the minute, so I think it's fair to say that's understandable. But Jack Stars doesn't want to acknowledge his own custom action figure that his very own superfan spent months working on. Did any of you know who Jack Stars was before this video? Because apparently he's now too famous to acknowledge this incredibly detailed piece of artwork. Imagine after the pandemic, you spend $500 and you travel halfway across the world to WrestleMania Access just so you can attend the Jack Stars meet and greet, only for you to get there, hand him your custom-made action figure and watch as he stares at you in complete silence for 4 seconds. And then moves on to the next person, because that's how I feel right now, just heartbroken. But our journey has not finished, it's just getting started, because now it's time to open the forbidden door and enter phase 2.
I pump it up, TNA's gonna burn it down.
Okay, so this is where we go for AEW and Impact wrestlers. We've got one for Miro, for example. We've got one for Peter Avalon. We've got one for Brian Pillman Jr. And we've got one for Jake something. I'm really confident that as bad as phase 1 was, phase 2 is where things are really going to start to kick off. So let's see how that goes. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. The one I'm disappointed about the most is the North. I saved the best stock images I could find for these two, and it almost looks like the North. You know, he's got dark hair, just like Ethan. Josh Alexander has a cool hat. Even though all of those figures are bad, I feel like these are the least bad of the group, and I don't feel like I don't feel like I got ignored. It feels like they just picked up the figures and fucked them right into the bin right in front of me. This hurts quite a bit, as I have spent a hypothetical several months making these, and I just don't think they're very grateful for it. And I've also just realized that it's fucking April Fool's Day. I'm not even messing. That's actually a coincidence. I had 365 days to choose from, and I choose the one day where people might assume I'm taking the piss, but this is the only time I have to do it. Anyway, phase 3, Ring of Honor. I'm not even going to leave you in suspense. I've been ignored again. When I say that this is the biggest disaster of a social experiment I've ever carried out, I don't think I'm exaggerating. That is a really solid attempt at a Session Matt Martina action figure, and it's ignored. An incredibly detailed and complex Mike Bennett action figure, ignored. An action figure of Danhausen, ignored. Pride is concerned with who is right. Humility is concerned with what is right. Well, then it is with great humility that I say you should have thanked me for this. Has there ever been a Mark and Vicky Haskins action figure, like an action figure set, created with such intricate detail? And yes, Mark Haskins has long blonde hair, and yes, okay, it looks nothing like them, but still. And then Brody King. Is that? Oh! Lads! Brody King, what a fucking man. We've gone to the meet and greet, we've walked up to Brody King, we've handed him this shitty Play-Doh action figure, the head fell off and rolled across the table, and then it melted in my hand. I handed him whatever was left of this mouldy, melted Play-Doh action figure that no longer looks like a human, and he said, yes, I like that. So now we're all big fans of Brody King. Phase 4, independent wrestlers. I've now sent these beautiful custom action figures to a number of my favourite independent wrestlers, which is good going, considering that indie wrestling has been fairly dead for over a year now, and we got ourselves a second like. To some, it's just a like, a love heart, a notification, nothing more than a minor inconvenience, but to us, this is validation. This justifies the weeks and months of crafting together a figure that is so lifelike that they may be wondering if perhaps they were the action figure this entire time and that the action figure is actually them. So thank you, Alexander Hammerstone. You are very jacked, as is this top quality, high-end, custom-made action figure of yourself, which I am delighted I poured my heart and soul into making hypothetically. Dan Barry, the adopted son of Ireland, also gives his endorsement by saying it's like looking into a mirror. And really, I couldn't agree with him more. And as always, I adore Dan Barry, hence he's in the background, he's on the wall. But now it's time for the final chapter, the final phase of this social experiment. And this will be the toughest pill to swallow if it goes wrong. Phase 5, my favourite wrestlers. So for those of you that don't already know, my two favourite wrestlers are Allison Kay and Erick Redbeard, as he is now known. Obviously, he gets that name from Eric the Red, an Icelandic Viking who was banished from his homeland in the same way that Erick Rowan was banished from WWE. There is no other reason he's called Erick Redbeard, at least not that I can think of anyway. So this is what we're sending to Allison Kay. It's obviously a really high quality action figure, but as I've already established, the pen is basically a replica world championship. So not only do you have the incredibly realistic action figure, but you also have the symbolism, the imagery, you know, like poetry and all that. Yeah, it's really, really deep, and it's well thought out stuff. It's nothing to do with the fact that I was running out of stock images and the only one I could find had a lad carrying a pen. Erick Redbeard, I have, along with the beautiful action figure, also sent him a nice tweet of support just to send his way, because he's back accepting wrestling bookings and he's of course the fucking man. So now that we've sent them off, we have to wait and see, will these wrestlers accept the shite action figures, or will they tell me it's the worst thing ever created since my parents created me? It appears that Allison Kay did not respond to the custom action figure, and this week she ignores the action figure. Last week she tells me to put my dog down.
From Kian. My dog won't stop barking at random people walking by the window. I think you gotta put her down.
This is a tough time to be an Allison Kay fan, but I have no doubt that she did not ignore this, right? Allison Kay saw the action figure, and she didn't just see the action figure, but she also saw the symbolism and the metaphor with the world title pen, and then got really emotional, started crying, and then the water damage broke her laptop, and then she couldn't reply. So that's obviously what happened there. Erick Redbeard, lads, has sent us a video message responding to the action figure.
Well done, Kian, that was very good.
So there we have it. Allison Kay and Erick Redbeard will always be my favourites, and this video is an absolute fucking disaster.